Good morning, everyone. Onegaishimasu. Nice to see you. This morning, I'm going to read Shokushu number 20, which is Intoku. And I'd like to ask you to listen to this as if it's the first time you've ever heard it. Intoku, just like the number 1 can never become 0, our words or actions never disappear once they are created. A good action causes a good result, and a bad action causes a bad result. This always returns to ourselves. A good action means acting without expecting a return, or getting attention from people, or bringing happiness and success to ourselves and to our descendants. This is called Intoku in the Japanese language. The highest form of Intoku is to practice the way of the universe, leading others and supporting their practice of this principle. And so sometimes when in our society, when we think of doing good, doing a good job or doing good for others, all we're thinking about is the result. Because if it doesn't result in the good that you want, then you're not satisfied. Others may think you didn't do a good job. Don't you think so? But here Toei Sensei says exactly the opposite. Doing good, he says, a good action means acting without expecting anything in return. When we're going through our training, we have overt tests, of course, physical tests that take us up to Sandan. So from let's say 5th Q on up to Sandan is all our preparatory work. That's not to make it dismiss it or make it unimportant. It's very important because it tests our perseverance, our ability to set a goal and meet that goal. The question is, when you become Shodan, Nidan, Sandan, when you meet that goal, what do you notice about how it makes you feel? What do you notice about yourself when you see that you are now Shodan, Nidan, Sandan? And of course, after this is over, we go on and continue training. And we say that's where the higher development begins, if we can call it higher development. And of course, there's no dividing line that starts at the end of Sandan. Many students begin this higher development, let's say Otomo training and more meditation and learning to notice what's going on with themselves way back earlier. And some students become Sandan and still haven't begun this practice. And of course, the reason we have the no more testing, so the teacher has to notice, has to see that you're developing yourself appropriately before he or she will give you, recommend you for the next level. So this is not easy. I understand this, you know. Maybe you noticed on Friday night, the 3 6 dans, Rokudans, that responded to my comments, all basically said the same thing. Carlos Boyer, Toby Vogels, and Tracy Reisner all expressed how difficult it is to follow this teaching. And these are probably 3 of the highest ranking Ki Aikido students around. If you have a question, they're really good people to ask because they've been through it all. And yet, did it surprise you, I wonder? when you heard the way they responded. So the question really is here, what is an advanced student? Now, what does beginner's mind really mean? If you'll permit me, I'm going to read you a very short story called The Sufi Master. I think you will like. A group of students approached a Sufi master. The group had heard that the master was a great teacher, so they asked him if they could become students to learn the way. The master sighed and said, "Please answer me these three questions. Are you prepared to set aside laziness and work hard?" Everyone in the group responded, "Yes." Are you willing to take a lower place of humility and let the others go first? Everyone in the group responded again, "Yes." Are you willing to venture where you do not know and let go of everything that is comfortable for you? Everyone in the group responded, "Of course, yes." The Sufi master sighed heavily and said, "Before I agree to take you on as my students, I would like you all to come next Tuesday and meet a group of people who have been studying with me for 3 years." And they all agreed. The next Tuesday came, and the master asked the new group to sit opposite his students. The teacher then said to his older students, who had been studying with him for 3 years, "How many of you would rather be lazy than work hard?" They all raised their hand in agreement, all of us. "How many of you would rather have recognition and pride instead of being humble and taking the lower place?" Again, they all raised their hands. "And how many of you would rather stay with what is comfortable than to venture into the unknown?" And once again, they all raised their hands in agreement. The master then looked at the new group and said, "So you see, the result of studying with me is that you will be worse off than you are now." Please think about this. So this is a very revealing story. Of course, when we hear it, we know even what the answer is going to be ahead of time, because we all know this, don't we? We all know this. And yet, how many of us really follow this? Or do we rather want to show someone that we are advanced, that we have an idea of being advanced? You know, again, I repeat, the 3 students that were highly advanced that responded to me the other night responded like this. Very, very difficult. They know who they are because they're actually doing the practice. But young students, newer students, often answer me or comment to me about how well they're doing and how deeply they understand what I'm saying and how wonderful this teaching is. So, you know, yes, the teaching's wonderful. I'm sure they're doing well. That's all fine. But that's not really what's going on. This is a major challenge. We are asking of ourselves probably the most difficult thing we can ask, which is to change our mind. I asked my first teacher one day, "What is enlightenment anyway?" And he said, "Oh, it's just turning around in the deepest seat of your consciousness." Think about that. Let's do some key breathing. I mentioned that during the process of your training, you set a goal and you persevere to that goal and you achieve that goal. So this is true in Aikido, but in pretty much everything we do. In the beginning, when we're very young, we pretty much just live day to day. We don't think about goals very much. But as we mature, we begin to cognize, we begin to think, imagine, we'd like to have this, we'd like to be like that, or we'd like to achieve this. So we begin to set goals and we begin to learn how to persevere until we achieve that goal and so forth. And this happens maybe many, many, many times before we begin to mature, truly mature, and we realize that there's no such thing as a goal. You know, once you've achieved enough goals, you realize that it doesn't exist as such. You train up to that point and you just keep training. Nothing changes. There was no thing called a goal. It was just something you used to encourage you to train. Once you realize this, then once again you can be, that's what you call beginner's mind. Once again, you can be like a child and you can practice truly, sincerely, deeply with no goals. They're not necessary any longer. Now that's why I read the shokushu that I did this morning, Intoku. So we tend to judge everything by the result. A good act, act is an act that brings a good result. A good investment brings a good return, right? In our world, we judge the goodness or effectiveness or rightness of an action by the result. But Toisen says just the opposite. Our training is just the opposite. Intoku is this is doing good in secret. This means we expect no reward. The action is not judged by the results. It's not judged by the reward. The goodness of it is inherent in the doing of it, not in the result of it. This turns the world upside down in our being, which is why I told you awakening is turning about in the deepest seat of our consciousness. Okay, so who wants to say something now? Could you talk, please? I said enough. So I want to hear some more beginning style. Please don't be insulted if I call on you, because we're all beginners, believe me. Aliona, please say something.
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. Yes, when I start training, I have like goals, and during my training, they just maybe not change, but maybe yes, I can say change, because first when I have some more egoistic goal about myself, and so during some period it just changed, but still I have goals as I can say. So but I change, and I can say that during meditation I become more patient to myself, less critical, and I feel that I have some progression in my practice.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think that's very revealing. You know, our lack of self-judgment progresses as we progress in Aikido. You can tell pretty much how you're doing by how critical you are of yourself. We say that you know, a successful person demands a lot of herself or himself. That we say these things. We have all these sayings, but do we really look at them? You know, that's why I ask you, when you listen to the shokushu this morning, listen to it as if for the first time, because we say things like that without really analyzing them. We like it because it makes us feel good, but this is not a purpose. Our purpose is to be one with the universe. And now that's huge, I know. That's an enormous thing to say, but it's not a goal because we're already one with the universe. It's just that we're covered up with all these screens, so we don't experience it. So as we're practicing, we become more patient, more sincere, less judgmental, less self-critical, less critical of others. We begin to settle into our practice. We begin to settle. And as the deeper we settle and settle and settle, the more we experience unification. That's what this is, a non-separation. Every time we say a word, he says a word is never erased. Every time we say a word, it either builds and adds to separation, a sense of separation from others, or it adds to an acceptance of and bringing together ourselves together with others. Every little word we say when we're hanging out in the kitchen or the living room or anywhere in your life, every little word we say brings us closer to unification or builds more screens. So notice what we say. Thank you, Aliana. Phoenix Grange, please say something.
I was just thinking and writing down about, telling how we're doing. I don't know why I'm on. Hold on.
You're fine.
Can you hear me without an echo now?
You're fine.
Sorry about that. That the how critical we are ourselves is a good indication of what's going on. And I think in my breathing, I've really just been focusing on key breathing lately as my meditation. And in that, I can experience the rhythm of my breath without criticism. A little harder when I'm doing it with you because I need to catch, I just can't, I get tight if I try to last that long. But even so, I can just take a sneaky breath and just kind of keep going. But the criticism in my head the rest of the time is not diminished. So I just go with it. I mean, that's how it is right now, but
would you like me to say something about
that's a challenge for me now. So I guess all I would
say. Okay, so of course, setting goals and working.
Hang on, I can't hear you. Hold on. Sorry.
Of course,
I can hear you now.
Setting goals and working toward goals.
I can't hear you. Shit.
Is a control issue.
I'm sorry, Sensei, I cannot hear you. I don't know why.
People hear me?
I can listen later, I guess.
I don't know what's going on, but I think everyone can hear me, so I'm going to go ahead. Very important, what we learn as we mature, we learn about control. We want to have control. When we're very young, we have temper tantrums because we cannot control what we want to control. Our parents can seem to control everything, and we don't have any control over anything. It sort of peaks in our high school years when we become most uncomfortable with that reality. The fact of the matter is we do have some willpower. We do have some ability to set a goal and to persevere and follow it. So in that sense, we feel we have control. But as we get more mature, we realize that there's nothing there. That is not control. In fact, the one that thinks they're doing that, that's not the one that's doing it. It is being done, yes. And it is being done through us, yes. But it's not the one that thinks they're doing it. So this is a double bind. It's not just the business of setting a goal and achieving it and realizing there's no goal. It's a much bigger issue of we actually have no control in the way that we think we do. So Suzuki Sensei used to say, we have to learn to allow the universe to live us. It's like we don't live our lives. The universe lives our lives through us. That means our lives are for everybody, not just for me. The purpose of our life is for everybody. And it's not going to be naturally, sincerely, earnestly that way until we experience this unification. Because you can't just do it as a good deed. You can't help others as a good deed because you will be expecting a reward, a result. And if you don't get the result, you'll be disappointed. You will be crushed. You will be self-critical. So I think this is an extremely important part of our training as we progress through the stages of rank. Excuse me, and then up beyond Sandan as we move further and further into the process of functioning as a conduit so that everything is going through us this way instead of us gathering, for ourselves, which is pretty much what we're doing when we're going up to Sandan. So that's the other transition that happens. And we go from feeding ourselves to feeding everyone else. Okay? Does anybody else want to say anything? Or ask a question? We just have a couple of minutes. Speak up if you can, because I don't see everybody's hand.
Sounds like Prakash from Maui. I remember the crushing disappointment I had after I completed my Shodan test, because I expected that it would change me. And I was so disappointed that I didn't. And I was really angry. And it's taken me many years of learning that it's just one more disappointment after another. And to come to accept that, that I am as I am, and the self-improvement has changed.
Yeah, so expectation gets us every time. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That was great. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.